It is my great honor and great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, preacher this morning. Dr. Willie Parker holds a degree from the University of Iowa College of Medicine, as well as degrees from Harvard School of Public Health, the University of Cincinnati, and the University of Michigan. Most recently, the United Nations Office of Human Rights recognized him as one of 12 women's human rights defenders. But most importantly, Dr. Parker is a Christian who chooses to provide abortions in high-need communities because of his religious convictions. This is critical because it disrupts the current narrative dominant in the United States today that religious beliefs and conduct are at odds with the right to abortion or the performance of an abortion procedure. Very important to me, personally, Dr. Parker is a feminist and a profoundly caring, compassionate, and creative person. He was also married in this past year, and I hope you'll join me now in welcoming Dr. Willie Parker.
Thank you. Good morning, family. I'm having a deja vu. It's been a minute since I've been in this particular spot, but I'm grateful to be back here. I guess I have to fess up, as Reverend Barber said, I's married now. Now, it's the gift of a lifetime for me to be here in community with you again. I feel like the brother who's been away at college and who comes home periodically to see his family and everyone and to see how they're doing. And since I was last here, as you heard, I've gotten married, but also we've elected a president, I've written a book, and since this summer alone, I've traveled to 5 countries. We're in a unique moment right now in this country. The world feels, in the words of the author Eduardo Galeano, that it is upside down, topsy-turvy. We now have alternative facts. There's a Darwinian vibe at play that seems to reward the survival of the slickest. And it seems like the most important commandment is the 11th commandment: thou shalt not get caught. But despite these trends, the most unsettling direction that we're headed in, from my standpoint, is the misuse, abuse, and overreach of fundamentalist Christian religion in our country and around the world today. And it concerns me most because I'm someone who identifies as a Christian. As I was thinking about what I might say to people in this congregation who are exposed weekly to the preaching gifts of Reverend Marlin and Reverend Barbara, as well as Bishop Pearson, and who, based on statistics or based on research, I'm in a congregation that is amongst the most educated religious people in the country. UUs are the religious people who have the highest number of postgraduate degrees. So that means, I don't know if that means you're smarter because you're UU or you're UU because you're smart. But it seems that its current state of affairs reminded me of a song that was popular in the early 2000s, and I heard the musician playing it. I don't know if you ever heard of the group REM. They had a song called Losing My Religion. And it was, as I thought about what I would say this morning, I selected that title to titillate you a bit in preparation for what I'd hoped to say. If we were to look at the relationship of this country to religion at this moment in time based on research, it would seem like that song is a prophecy. The irony of the fact is that as we seem to be losing our religion, our most essential national identity is still that we are a Christian nation, or at least a nation under God. Given that religious freedom is one of the sentinel and basic defining characteristics of the founding of our democracy, I've said that our identification with religious freedom is so strong that if God wore a shirt, we would probably insist that it say made in America. Sadly, it's been that strong religious identity, or at least the identification of our nation as a religious nation, and a Christian nation in particular, that religion has become the chief mechanism whereby many people are able to justify hate in the form of Christian, male, and white supremacy. Now that sounds like a bit of profiling, and I know it sounds like the joining profile for the KKK. However, it's become the criteria by which many think that that is the most authentic expression of patriotism and faith in this country. Our nation, has become an unofficial theocracy in that we don't have a national religion, and yet we do. And it has become evangelical Christianity, which is problematic when we have a society as diverse and as pluralistic as ours. Having failed to realize that the freedom of religion also means the right to freedom from religion, we accept the tyranny of a very narrow few people in our country with a set of beliefs held by one group of people, in this case Christians, and we elevate their beliefs and their truths over that of non-Christians, over that of people who declare that they believe nothing, or over people who refuse to disclose their beliefs. And ultimately, we allow for a deepening resentment and disdain by people against what is called organized Christianity. What I hear is that many people are refusing to identify with imperialism, nationalism, and notions of Christianity that disparage other faith traditions or that cast dispersion on those who fail to identify religious identity and practice at all. Here's a snapshot of what our country looks like based on research done by the Public Religion Research Institute in a report that they published in September of 2017, and they called that report America's Change in Religious Identity. In the executive summary of that report, it revealed that white Christians now account for fewer than half of the public people who identify as Christians. I think that is reflective of the changing racial and ethnic demographics of this country. This report shows that America's youngest religious groups are non-Christian. That is to say, the groups that have the highest percentage of people under the age of 30 practicing those faith identities are not Christian. All of the traditions like Hinduism, Islam, and Buddhism have populations in excess of 30% that are under age 30. Meanwhile, Catholics have a population under age 30 of 11%, Protestants 11%, and mainline Protestants 14%, which is to say that America, if people are practicing religion at all, they are practicing non-Christian religion. The report also indicates that atheists and agnostics account for a minority of all of the religiously unaffiliated. Most of the religious unaffiliated are secular. So it means that people aren't losing their faith, they're simply losing their religion. There's 20 states in this country where no religious group is larger than the percentage of people who are non-religious. And finally, nearly half of all LGBTQ Americans are religiously unaffiliated. So what does it say to us about Christianity, or at least what does it mean in America that that religion has become increasingly non-white, non-Christian, secular, and it has a diminishing prevalence among LGBTQ people? Well, first, let me tell you, as a scientist, one of the first things that I learned is that there's a difference between data and information. And the difference between data and information is whether or not the data is rightly interpreted. So let me try and interpret for you the statistics that I just gave you. I think that the demand for integrity from an institution, in this case the church, that reflects the fact that this agency that has branded itself as the center of morality in this country as we identify as a Christian nation, when it is judged by people who consult their innate sense of what is right, in fulfillment of what I think was the prophecy of the divine saying that I will now write my laws on the hearts of people. I think when people use their internal compass of what is right, and they look at the institution call the church in the light of what is moral and ethical, the church comes up short. And as a result, it seems that people, as was declared in the song by REM, are losing their religion. But they're not alone. Even the president most known for being Christian in the White House, not the presidents who declare that they are Christian by inference because we impose a test of religion, an unofficial test of religion on all people aspiring for that office, but rather President Jimmy Carter, the person who's most been identified with being Christian as a president and who continues in his Christian identity well into his 90s, joined in the notion of abandoning his religion. He wrote an essay in response to rejecting patriarchy and misogyny in his Christian faith. And he said in that essay called Losing My Religion for Equality, I quote, he said, "Women and girls have been discriminated against for too long in a twisted interpretation of the Word of God. I've been a practicing Christian all of my life and a deacon and a Bible teacher for many years. My faith is a source of strength and comfort to me, as religious beliefs are to hundreds of millions of people around the world. So my decision to sever my ties with the Southern Baptist Convention after 6 decades was painful and difficult. It was, however, an unavoidable decision when the convention's leaders, quoting a few carefully selected Bible verses and claiming that Eve was created second to Adam and was responsible for original sin, ordained that women must be subservient to their husbands and prohibited from serving as deacons, pastors, or chaplains in the military service. So I ask you this morning, what does it mean to lose your religion if what one is really in pursuit of is truth and reality? Is it necessary for you to lose your religion if you want to deal with reality? Before I explore that and what it's meant to me to, quote, lose my religion, let me anchor us in one understanding of what morally rooted religion is. In the letter of in the New Testament, in the letter to Christians from James, in the first chapter, in the 27th verse, he says that pure and undefiled religion is this, that you visit widows and orphans in their affliction and that you keep yourself unspotted from the world. It resonated with me deeply that the most authentic test of pure religion is how it treats the most vulnerable in your population. I'm particularly moved by that passage because it stirred in my inner witness once when someone was challenging me on my identity as a Christian who provided abortions. The fight or flight response, the fight part of the response for me, wanted me to, from my primitive brain, respond snarkily to someone who once yelled to me, "You're not a Christian and you're not like Jesus." Part of me wanted to say crassly, Jesus was also not a Christian, he was a Jew. But what restrained me from being snarky with the person who was attacking me and assaulting the integrity of my Christian faith was the fact that when I looked deeper at what he was saying, the first part of his assault was correct, but the second part was off. In the first part, I had to conclude that in my decision to reject the creeds and the dogma of Christendom that this person understood to be essential to Christianity, namely racism, patriarchy, and homophobia, I indeed am not a Christian in the way that he understood it. But where he was wrong, however, was that my rejection of this aspect and this understanding of Christianity meant that I was exactly emulating the Jesus of the Bible who rejected the traditional understanding of Judaism that left it in the place to be a cold and unresponsive religion to the needs of the people of his day. And in doing so, Jesus modeled a faith informed by compassion and action made necessary when the official understanding of religion was corrupted by its intimate association with political power. I guess you could say that it was in losing my conventional understanding of Christian religion that I was able to find what the great Christian theologian Howard Thurman called the religion of Jesus. Let me see if I can help you to understand what I mean. Howard Thurman said the religion of Jesus is a religion and a spirituality that speaks to people who live with their backs to the wall. That was the situation of Palestine in the days of Jesus. The overbearing, crushing economic extortion of people who were a part of Judaism because the temple system was in intimate association with the Roman Empire. Jesus overthrew and rejected that notion. And Howard Thurman said that the religion of Jesus speaks to people who live with their backs to the wall. The religion of Jesus doesn't demand somehow that people become worthy of being helped before they can receive help, but rather it imposes a task on the adherents to that faith tradition to respond to the people's need and their relief from the position that they are in. The religion of Jesus was a radical departure from the Jewish tradition of Jubilee that said that every 49 or 50 years there would be relief. Jesus insisted that compassionate Judaism be responsive to the needs of people on a regular and ongoing basis. So Jesus took the concept of Jubilee and moved it from every 49 to 50 years to on a case-by-case basis when you encountered the needs of your fellow human being. Jubilee, according to the book of Leviticus, was the season in which slaves and prisoners would be freed, debts would be forgiven, and the mercies of God would be particularly manifest to everyone during that season. Instead of adhering to the principles of Jubilee in the religion of Jesus, in our day, modern understandings of Christianity have defaulted to posing the cliche question that became a cottage industry of paraphernalia when people were printing out, I don't know if you saw these bracelets and card tags that had WWJD, or what would Jesus do? Well, the religion of Jesus demands that we not figure out what Jesus would do, but we figure out what people's needs are and that we meet them. The Mahatma Gandhi, I think, as a Hindu, understood this when he declared that there are people in the world who are so hungry that even God would not appear to the hungry except in the form of bread. It was that understanding that guided my compassionate response to people seeking to end pregnancies, because I'm clear that it is not my place to judge people when they present with that need. It's my responsibility to provide the services that I'm trained to do, and not to fret about how people will think of me because I do so. Christian religion void of compassion calls for women to be judged harshly and punished for their sexuality in ways that are different from men. The religion of Jesus saves the woman who's in the midst of being stoned. Religion devoid of compassion sees the homeless and the hungry as irresponsible people who are eyesores in a market economy. The religion of Jesus organizes the hungry and feeds the masses with limited resources. Religion void of compassion shuns the sick. The religion of Jesus mandates responding to the least of these with healing and health care, touching the untouchables. In American Christian religion, especially at this moment, as evangelical Christianity seems to serve as the papacy for this administration, as it morally validates the policies that divide us with regard to race, gender, sexuality, class, and immigration status. But the religion of Jesus, in the words of Paul, declares in Galatians that there is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male nor female, but all are one in Christ Jesus. There is a radical equality in the religion of Jesus that seems to be absent from modern Christianity. So as I close, know that it is all right for you to lose your religion if the religion you hold is a religion that justifies LGBTQ and transphobia, racism, misogyny, or nationalism. Because it's only when you lose that religion that you can find the religion of Jesus. That is not a plug for Christianity, although Christianity is my faith tradition. But it is a plug for the religion of the Palestinian Jew who challenged the religious order of his day to disrupt the relationship between the Roman Empire and his faith tradition that exploited the people of his time. It is the religion that obligates you to reduce homelessness, hunger, and poverty, to reject nationalism, and to oppose war, both domestic and international. It is the religion that prompts you to refuse to judge people for the decisions that they make about their reproductive lives. If indeed you discover that as you are losing your religion, I ask that if you are in the process of doing that as you do so, I encourage you, as you lose your religion, make sure when you lose your religion that it is in the process of you on your way to finding your humanity. God bless us all.
We're so happy you're visiting with us online today. We love connecting with people all across the country and around the world, sharing our powerful message of love beyond belief.
There's something new happening here. You can now join All Souls as a virtual member. Our virtual membership is designed for friends who live outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and who want to engage with All Souls in a meaningful way.
You can be part of an expanding family, a global family really, wherever you are. If you live in Oklahoma,
Ohio,
or Orange County, California,
Canada,
or Cameroon. By becoming a virtual member, you'll be able to deepen your connections with members and friends here in Tulsa and with members wherever you are.
Each week, you'll receive special All Souls content tailored for you, our virtual members. Virtual members have access to pastoral care, to personal prayers, and also receive invitations to exclusive web events.
You can learn more, and if you're ready, you can become a virtual member today by visiting allsoulschurch.org/virtual membership.
We're grateful our ministries are having a positive impact on your life, and we want to share the good news of love beyond belief with more and more people. So no matter what, we need your support to keep this ministry growing and thriving, so please consider making a gift today. You can do so by texting
Love BB for Love Beyond Belief to 73256, or simply visit our website. You are a blessing in our lives. May you be blessed
and be a blessing.